What's up, guys? Got the first video of the season after the draft. We're going to discuss. Tell you guys kind of how I break down and start the preseason rankings. I'm going to kind of cover the best pick and the worst pick of each round in the draft for most of the rounds, and then I'll kind of give a highlight of each person's team, kind of likes, dislikes, and things like that. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. In regards to how I do the preseason rankings, essentially I just pull a tiered ranking list of all the positions offline, and I give a score to each tier. So if your player is in tier 1, they get 5 points. They're in tier 2, they get 4.5, and then so on and so forth. And then depending on the player, I may make my own adjustments whether or not I think they need to move up or down a tier. I don't believe I moved anybody down or up more than 2 tiers, except possibly maybe one running back in particular. But that's kind of how I gauge that. And then every player gets a score. I total the score, and then obviously whichever team scores the most gets ranked the highest, and the teams that scored the least get ranked the lowest. So that's how that works there. I'm going to cover the rounds here. Kind of what I thought was the best pick of the round and what I thought was the worst pick. For round 1, I have Dakota taking DeAndre Hopkins as the best pick. I believe that was the 12th pick of the round. I didn't expect Hopkins to fall that far. It looked like running backs were a priority for a lot of teams, which I don't have an issue with. I just thought he may go a little sooner. I definitely know I was considering him at 7. If Alvin Kamara would not have been there, I may have pulled that trigger there. So thought that was the best pick of the round. I thought the worst pick of the round was Phillip drafting Dalvin Cook. I thought it was a little early for him, considering he's coming off the knee injury. I do believe they will still incorporate Latavius Murray in the lineup, but we'll see. I mean, if he returns to form like he was last year, I mean, obviously he'll be amazing. I got to nitpick a little bit, some of these rounds here. In the second round, I have the best pick going to Chad, drafting Michael Thomas. I think Thomas is a stud. I thought he should have gone maybe slightly sooner. And with the worst pick, I have Derek drafting LaShawn McCoy. I think second round is very high with him. The Bills are not a very good team this year, and given his legal issues, we don't really know if he's going to be able to play all season or not. I just thought it was a little early to jump on him. I thought he may have gone, middle to late third round. Best pick in the third round, I have Dakota drafting Doug Baldwin. I know Doug Baldwin has a knee injury, and it's likely not going to go anywhere soon. It seems like he just has a nagging problem. He should be fine for most of the season, but I still think he's a stud. Number 1 receiver on a team with Russell Wilson, so he's going to get targets. I thought the worst pick of that round was Josh drafting Amari Cooper. I am not a Amari Cooper fan. I'm not a Derek Carr fan. Not a Raiders fan. There's a lot of mouths to feed there on that offense as well, with them acquiring Jordy Nelson and Martavis Bryant. They also have Jared Cook, and then, several different running backs that are pretty decent there. So we'll see. I mean, he can obviously do well, but like I said, I have to pick somebody here. Best pick in the fourth round, I have Derek drafting Lamar Miller. I like Lamar Miller. I think if Deshaun Watson can stay healthy, that can be a pretty good offense this year. And he's never been a huge player, but given that value as for a number 1 there on a pretty good offense, I think that's solid. I have the worst pick of that round going to Joseph taking Allen Robinson. I know a lot of people are hyped about the Bears' offense this year with Mitch Trubisky and their new offensive coordinator. Allen Robinson hasn't really done anything in the past 2 seasons. I believe 3 years ago he was pretty good, but he's coming off injury, and we'll see if he can pull it together on this new team. I have the best pick in the 5th round going to Joseph, drafting Aaron Rodgers. I expected Rodgers to go in the 3rd or 4th round, so getting Aaron Rodgers that late I thought was a very solid pick there. And I had the worst pick of that round going to Dalton with Michael Crabtree. Just don't really like his situation there in Baltimore. I know they've acquired him. They have John Brown. Not really too sure about their other receivers, and I know they're planning to run the ball a lot with Alex Collins, and obviously play that defensive game Baltimore is known for. Best pick in round 6, I have Phillip getting Jimmy Graham. With Jimmy Graham going to the Packers, I think he's going to get utilized a lot. He should not only get plenty of touchdowns, but he should get plenty of work in the middle of the field during the game. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and him seem to be developing a good chemistry in camp, so like that pick there. Worst pick I have going to Dakota with Alshon Jeffrey. Jeffrey's a great player, but he's dealing with an injury. It was just announced today he's definitely missing the first 2 weeks and maybe more, so we'll see how that goes. Just no guarantee he's really going to be there this season. Best pick in round 7, I don't really have anybody. Not really sure there. I would say the worst pick in round 7, I have Josh drafting Jimmy Garoppolo there. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I think he'll be a good player this year. I just thought it was way too early to draft Jimmy. I think you could have waited to get him in probably round 9 to 12, somewhere in that range. I thought that would have been a better option there. Best pick in round 8, I have myself drafting Jamal Williams. To start the season, he's going to be the starting running back on the Packers. Obviously, I like their offense. It came out today that Mike McCarthy thinks he's going to be a workhorse back and expects big things for him this year, so we'll see how that goes. Obviously, they're missing Aaron Jones first couple games, so if he can have a couple really good games to start the season, he'll hold Aaron Jones off and likely be able to hold on to that role during the year. Worst pick in round 8, I couldn't think of anybody there. Best pick in round 9, I have Dalton with Carson Wentz. If Wentz can come back healthy, he was really good last year. That should be a really good team there in Philadelphia. I thought it was good value at that time. Worst pick, I have Steven drafting Ronald Jones. Ronald Jones has not had a good training camp, not had a good preseason. Buccaneers aren't really that good of a team, in my opinion. It looks like Peyton Barber's playing very well, and he's going to start the season as a starter. And unless Ronald Jones can learn to play better in the next month or so, I don't see anything happening for him this year. I have the best pick in round 10 going to Steven drafting Andrew Luck. If Luck can stay healthy, he should be borderline top 5 quarterback. He has a couple playmakers on that team. With him there, they're going to be playing from behind quite a bit as well, so he's going to have plenty of opportunities to throw the ball. I would say the worst pick, I have Joseph drafting James Washington. I know he's had a nice preseason, but some of that is from him playing with Mason Rudolph, who he played with in college, so they already have that chemistry. He's going to be behind Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Le'Veon Bell getting the ball, so there's not a lot to go around for him. I mean, he may have a few good weeks, but I just don't see it happening a ton throughout the year. Best pick in round 11, I gave to myself, drafting Mike Williams. He was hurt last year. He's a big play receiver. The Chargers don't have Hunter Henry, or right now still don't have Antonio Gates. They need somebody in the red zone. They can't target Keenan Allen every play, so I expect some big things out of Mike Williams this year. Worst pick I have going to Chad, drafting Michael Gallup, the rookie receiver for the Cowboys. I'm a Cowboys fan. I just don't really like our passing game this year. He could play well, but we have a few other guys to get the ball to, and I really don't know what's going to happen there. Round 12, I have Josh drafting Phillip Rivers. Kind of the same sentiment with Mike Williams. I think that offense is going to be good. They have a very good defense. Phillip Rivers has always been underrated, so I expect big things out of him this year. And then I have the worst pick in that round, Joseph drafting Jared Cook. I've already talked on the Raiders offense, and Jared Cook, I'm not even sure if he's a top 12 tight end in my opinion. Best pick in round 13, I have Phillip getting Keelan Cole. Obviously, news broke recently that Marquise Lee, the number 1 receiver in Jacksonville, tore his knee, so he's going to be out for the season. That gives plenty of opportunity for Keelan Cole to take that number 1 receiver spot in Jacksonville. It's not necessarily the best team to have the number 1 receiver, but getting somebody that can get 150 targets in a season at the 13th round is great value. Worst pick in that round, I have Brian with drafting the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, I don't even think are ranked as a top 20 defense in any preseason rankings. The one I believe I looked at had them ranked 28 or 30. Not really sure the philosophy there. I know they're in a weaker division. I really hate that pick. Best pick in round 14, I have Orlando with the San Diego Chargers. Thought it was a great value for them. They're supposed to be very good defense, so good job there. and I have the worst pick in that round going to Chad, drafting Cortland Sutton. I know he's had a good preseason. I know there's some hype around him. Obviously, that team has a new quarterback this year, Case Keenum, who can get the ball around a little bit, but he's still going to be behind Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders no matter what. And those guys are both going to get plenty of targets. So, kind of similar to some of the, maybe James Washington and Gallup, there's chances he can have some nice weeks, but he's not going to be consistent, unless there's an injury there. And that's what's going to happen with a lot of those, rookie receivers on some of these teams. So those are my thoughts there. I'm going to look at teams real quick. I'm going to go through them as quick as I can to keep the video short. And then, like I said, preseason rankings, I'll post them, at 6:05 tonight. Looking at Steven's team here, a couple things that jump off to me. Two great quarterbacks, Cam Newton, Andrew Luck. Not really sure the philosophy there. He drafted Newton first. Andrew Luck obviously has injury history. I could see backing him up if you picked him, but having both those guys I just think is a little bit of a waste because we only play one quarterback. He's got some pretty good running backs on the team. I like Fournette, Freeman, Alex Collins. Great way to start his team, but he really is weak at receiver. I mean, you're really hoping Josh Gordon is able to play to his potential because he's got to be your number one. And then after that, you got guys who should be, receiver 3s and receiver 4s at, Cooper Kupp, Mohamed Sanu, Geronimo Allison. We don't even know what his, role is going to be on the Packers. Anthony Miller, you're hoping can pull something out there, though. But does have likely the number one defense, one of the top kickers. So his team, besides receiver, has a good tight end. So we'll see how that pans out for him this year. Just really don't like the receiver selections there. Looking at my team here, I've drafted 2 quarterbacks as well, but both of mine are very late. I'm hoping Mahomes or Ryan, one of them can have a breakout year. It's Ryan's second season with the new coordinator. That tends to bode well for him in the past, so I'm hoping there. Obviously, Kamara should be fine. I'm a little worried about Ajayi. I like some of my other running backs, Jamal Williams. I got whichever Cleveland, first down back can get through with Hyde and Chubb. My receivers, I'm really excited about. Tight end, not so much. Don't really care about. Defense should be fine. Kickers, whatever. Looking at Derek's team here. Derek has Prescott and Goff, so he waited on quarterback. I'm not a fan of either one of those guys this year. We'll see how that works out for him. McCoy, questionable. McKinnon, he could be really good. He'd be really bad. I'm not even sure they're going to make him the workhorse guy there. Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. Obviously, Antonio Brown's amazing. Schuster is good as well, but having both of them on the same team, I'm not really sure that's the best strategy. I do like Lamar Miller. He's got Sony Michel on the bench, so we'll see if he can carve out a role there in New England. Obviously, there's always a lot of points to be had there, so that could work out well for him. Looking at Brian's team here, Brian has the number one, maybe the number one quarterback, Tom Brady, as the number one running back, Gurley, number one tight end, Gronkowski. So he's pretty good there. He has, in my opinion, probably some really boom or bust receivers with Hilton, Goodwin, Watkins. Those guys are, oftentimes big play guys. So if they don't make those big plays, they usually don't score a ton. I do really like Goodwin this year, though. Dolphins defense, where he talked about, horrible pick, and not much to speak of on his bench. He is, after Gurley, extremely weak at running back, in my opinion. We're going to pull up Joseph's team here. Joseph's got Aaron Rodgers, great pick. Saquon Barkley, obviously you're hoping he pans out, should be fine there. Some decent receivers, Allen, Evans, and a lot of flyers. Allen Hurns, Marlon Mack, who I'm not really sure is even going to be a starter there in Indianapolis. John Ross, Washington, has Marquise Lee, who we've already discussed, tore his knee up, so gonna have to switch him out and find somebody else to fill that role there for him. Looking at Dakota here, he's got Kirk Cousins at quarterback, his only quarterback. I think Kirk should be pretty good this year. I like that pick. McCaffrey's his number one running back. I'm not a huge fan of him as the number one running back. He's got Burkhead as well, Rashad Penny, Aaron Jones. So he's got guys that could be second or third running back are kind of questionable in my opinion. great receiver core. Really like the receivers. Obviously, he's got Alshon, who's got the injury. Jordan Reed at tight end. No backup tight end, so he's really banking on Jordan Reed being able to stay healthy currently, which we all know that's likely not going to happen. It doesn't seem to work out well for him. When he's out there and he's healthy, he's really good, but not the best. And then now I got to look at Phillips' team here, who doesn't have his freaking lineup set, which makes it harder to review. I appreciate that. He's got Deshaun Watson and Drew Brees at quarterback. I don't understand that at all. Why have two top 10 quarterbacks in your team and spend, the draft pick on those guys? Obviously, I know Deshaun Watson's coming off injury, but I would have backed up Deshaun Watson with somebody like Ben Roethlisberger or Phillip Rivers or, somebody later on in the draft instead of spending that high pick on Drew Brees and being able to improve my team at another position like running back or receiver. Okay running backs. I'm not a fan of Derrick Henry or Drake this year. Obviously, he's got Dalvin Cook. Jimmy Graham at tight end. I love that pick. Eagles defense, good. He does have Latavius Murray, so he's got the handcuff there, which is smart. I do like John Brown. I think he'll do decent there in Baltimore. Looking at Garrett's team here. Garrett has Big Ben and Russell Wilson. So that's kind of more of where I like to see if you're going to draft two quarterbacks so you can get one early, kind of backing them up with somebody later on in the draft. So I think that's a good duo there. Kareem Hunt, and then, the backup running backs there I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not really sold on Kerryon Johnson. Tariq Cohen, obviously, is just pass-catching guy. C.J. Anderson, I like him, but his situation in Carolina can be up in the air. Bernard, not really sure about. Decent receivers, guys who are going to get a lot of catches. I mean, I could see every receiver, his top three receivers on the team getting 100 catches. Obviously, that'd be a bigger benefit if we were a full point PPR, but we are half point, so it'll still be a benefit there. Kelsey at tight ends, nice grab there. Not much else to speak of. We'll jump over here to Dalton's team. He's got Wentz, he's got Melvin Gordon, Royce Freeman, Demaryius Thomas, Julio Jones, Robert Woods, Crabtree, Galladay, some decent receivers, even Garcon. He took a flyer on Adrian Peterson, so we'll see if that pans out for him there. He's got Evan Ingram. Not a bad team. A lot of solid players across the board, in my opinion. We only got 3 more teams left, and then this will be wrapped up. We got Chad's team here. He has Stafford at quarterback, and that is his only quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott, Deion Lewis. I do like Lewis this year. Some pretty good receiver depth. Mike Williams, Stephon Diggs, Marvin Jones. If Jordy Nelson can come out of the fucking zombie mode he was in last year, he could be pretty nice there. Couple good second string or pass catching backs with Coleman and Johnson on the bench there. So not too bad there. He's got a couple flyer on those rookie receivers that obviously I stated earlier. I'm just not really a big fan of those two. There's some that I don't mind though. Looking at Orlando's team here, 2 quarterbacks as well. I believe he was the last team to pick a quarterback, so his quarterbacks are obviously not his strong point. He has Alex Smith and Marcus Mariota. Obviously has Lev Bell. Very good running back depth in this team with Bell, Mixon, Marshawn Lynch. I'm not a fan of Lynch, but he obviously has a role there in Oakland. Does have Mark Ingram and Peyton Barber. Obviously, Ingram's suspended, but he'll be back, and I'm hoping he doesn't get a lot of work, given the fact that I have Kamara, but I'm sure it'll probably go back to something similar as to what they were doing last year. Obviously, I like Peyton Barber. He also has Julian Edelman on the bench, who's going to be suspended for some games here, but we'll get him back and should be a nice addition there. And then the last team we have here is Josh's team. It's got Phillip Rivers at quarterback and Garoppolo, David Johnson, Jordan Howard. One of the few teams that drafted 2 tight ends. He has Greg Olsen and Trey Burton. A lot of all his receivers are kind of boom or bust, in my opinion. I think I said the same thing about Brian's team. Cooper, Cooks, and Davis. Obviously, great kicker, pretty good defense as well. Has James White on the bench. Could get some value there. Brandon Marshall on the bench. We'll see what he can do there in Seattle. So that's going to wrap up my video here. By the time you guys watch this, we will have preseason rankings. I'll post them on the league page and also in Facebook Messenger. And then you guys, let me know what you think. And, best of luck to everybody. We are about a week and a couple days away from start of the season. So let's enjoy it. And for those of you guys who haven't sent me the $20, let's please get that done as soon as possible. I'll shoot out reminders in the next few days as well. Good luck, boys.